Um, okay, we're in there. So what's been going on?
Not too much, like melee wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the last time we had a lesson, I think was 2 weeks ago, actually, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yep.
And I know you went
So,
to hold that L.
yep, I went to hold that L and I won, which was
Nice. That's
cool.
it.
Yeah, and it was a difficult tournament, not only mentally but also just like there were probably 10 people there who have like a decent chance of beating me. Like they're like 10 top 100 players and like six of them are top 50 or whatever.
Oh, okay, damn.
So it was definitely difficult, and like Kalindi was there, so I was like, "Oh God, I'm gonna have to beat Kalindi. Like this is gonna be really difficult." But he ended up losing to Boyd and somebody else. But
Conmaster.
Boyd and Luigi Copmaster, and I
Yeah.
beat both of those two people. So I was like, "Dang, the people that beat Kalindi, I ended up beating, which is good."
Yeah.
Um, like I said, mentally it was kind of difficult. I had some like weird issues. Also, my controller broke during my first set of the day,
Oof.
uh, which was big spooky.
Did you get
I
it
uh,
fixed?
I did get it fixed, luckily. It has since broke again in the same way once I brought it home, but it lasted me through the tournament at least.
Yeah, yeah. So time to switch out, I guess.
Yeah, either switch out or just like fix it better. I'm not
What's wrong
exactly
with it?
sure. Um, but I was decently happy with how I performed. I think I had a lot of weird matchups that I had to deal with. Like I think my bracket path was like Marth, Peach, Luigi, Ice Climbers into like I don't know, some weird floaty puff into Marth again.
Okay, so you played everything.
Yeah, so I essentially played everything like except for Fox, which was weird. But I felt good about my ability to like kind of switch up my playstyle depending on who I needed to play, and my attention was good for some sets, and in others it wasn't. Um, like I had the set against Jake and Shaken, in grand finals, and that ended up going to game five. But I really felt like it didn't have any reason to go to game five. I
Mm-hmm.
just like would lose focus and die randomly, which is I think kind of the Falco special.
It is for sure.
Um, but in my set against Boyd and my set against Kamaster, I feel like I tightened things up pretty nicely, and I
Nice.
really only got punished for like executional mistakes for the most part, and I thought my ideas were pretty solid.
That's sick. What's messed up about your controller, by the way?
So the wires that connect the motherboard to the C stick like snapped.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I got them soldered back on when I was at the tournament. But like what essentially happens is like it doesn't register the C stick as doing nothing. It registers it as always holding in one direction.
Yeah, yeah,
So if I like L canceled, I would just buffer a roll.
yeah. Yeah, I'm
Like
familiar with
I
that.
just ended up being real bad.
Yeah, yeah. Dang, that's crazy. Um,
Yeah.
okay.
So essentially, I would need to get like an entire new C stick soldered on, which I don't think is the biggest deal, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but other than going to that tournament, I've still been practicing mostly on net play still. I don't think I've had too much IRL melee practice. I'm feeling good about a lot of things. I've been playing a good amount of peaches, and like, I don't know, whenever I play against a matchup that we've had a lesson on, like Falco, Peach, and Sheik, I feel like I'm looking for really, really specific things, and I'm like implementing the new things that we talked about, and
Nice.
everything just seems to be working well. Um, and I've even gotten to practice against some like good peaches and good sheiks, and even then, it's like, well, it's just the character versus the character, and if I'm prepared for what they're gonna do, and if I'm reacting properly, like everything should be fine, and it seems to be going that way.
That's sick. I mean, that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Um,
cool. Do you feel like stuff for Sheik has gotten a little more comfortable?
yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm, especially with my punishes, I just feel like my overall like I remember during our first Sheik lesson, it was just like really clear that I didn't know how to punish Sheik,
Mm-hmm.
and especially just like not even directly combo her, but just take advantage of her in bad spots once like I've dropped like the main combo,
Yeah, yeah.
or if she's escaped it or whatever. So when she's like off the stage, or when she's lost her double jump, or when I have her in a bad position like the corner or something, I feel like I'm dealing with those situations a lot more effectively.
Nice. And it probably only required one or two changes in like what you were doing too. So,
Yeah, yeah, that is what it
and that's
feels
what I
like.
remember. It was like, oh, well, if you just put yourself here instead, you'd probably do the right thing.
Uh huh. Uh huh. The biggest work in progress, well, maybe not the biggest one, but a big work in progress is still just like I feel like I try to force situations sometimes when I shouldn't be, and I still don't have the clearest idea of how much time I have to get to certain places.
Okay.
Which is, I think it's difficult, and there's like, I have to figure out exactly like what they can do and what they can't, depending on like how far away we are from each other.
Yes.
I feel like I'm pretty good at knowing how much time people have after I shoot them with a laser. Like I'm like, okay, I have this much advantage, and I can do this before they do that.
Yeah.
But like, if I don't have them locked down on a laser and they have their full range of options, it feels like sometimes I'm like, well, I feel like if I'm really fast here, I can just hit them because it'll work against every low and mid level player I'm playing. But then I play against somebody who's very fast and consistent. It's like, okay, well, I didn't actually, so I probably shouldn't bank on just running at them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, if you do it versus a lower level player and it works, do you still feel like you process, like, do any post processing where you're like, okay, that probably shouldn't have worked?
I do that now, essentially.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Hello?
Hi.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you if you were talking.
I don't think I was. I was looking at my the notes from the
Oh,
last
okay,
lesson.
okay. You
Yeah.
paused to check notes. Okay, this makes sense.
Yeah. But I'm not exactly sure what we want to work on today. I do have a few sets from that last tournament. But like I said, I would like to go over like Falco versus Marth at some point, but I feel like I don't know, this last set I feel like it's gonna be a lot of like, well, you didn't really react there, and you really didn't set yourself up in a good laser spacing there. Like,
well, I feel like it will be useful no matter what, but it might not be as useful as it could be. So that's kind of up to you. But I don't doubt that we can make it useful.
okay. Well, maybe it would be kind of interesting because I feel like we kind of have maybe just like maybe we'll even figure out some things that I'm messing up consistently.
Yeah,
when
I
I'm
mean,
not
even
playing
just that would
at my
be useful, right? So you play Jake and Shaken, you said?
I did. Do you want me to shoot you the set, or are you
No,
gonna?
I can find it. Grand finals?
It was grand finals.
Who was winners finals?
It was me versus Calmaster, I think.
Oh, Calmaster's
Yeah, it was.
pretty good. Okay, let's see.
Is that V Tucker?
Oh, you posted the My Circle. I see it now.
Yep.
Perfect.
You posted it. You already took the first talk.
Oh wow, I'm so quick.
Yeah. All right.
All right,
Let
I'm
me
in.
know when you have it playing.
I have it playing.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the beginning. Did it go back?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, interestingly enough, you messed up your first drop through laser.
I know. I don't know if I've ever messed it up.
Yeah. I thought that was funny. Let me think. So, I'm trying to think about the walk up shine. It's a thing Mango does a lot.
He does it a lot, and that's kind of who I took it from, I think. It seems to work a lot.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. The only thing I'm thinking about is there's a range where running shine is actually better than walk shine. And I'm going to count some frames because I'm curious.
I'm down.
I need to figure out
Are
where
you wondering
start
how
walking.
long I walked for?
Yeah, because you actually walked quite far.
I did, yeah. Do you remember off the top of your head how long Falco's dash is in terms of frames? Is it 12?
It's probably something like that.
Yeah.
I know Fox's is about that time. And everyone's is a little different. Yeah, you easily walked for about a running shine timing, though.
Gotcha.
And I think that's visually clear even if you watch it in real time. So that was just something I wanted to point out. That, like, if you... Because you realize, like, oh, he wave dashed back. I probably need to keep walking. And maybe you had already decided to walk, then saw the wave dash, so then you kept walking, you know. There's, like, a ton of things that... Like, I don't think this was wrong. It just reminded me that, like, something you should consider is definitely, like... There are spacings where running shine is much better than the walk.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And lots of people don't do that.
I feel like I kind of just auto do the walk right now.
Yeah, I mean, even Mango kind of just does the walk. Aw. What do you think of the first combo?
I thought it was pretty bad.
So, obviously it was kind of ambiguous. I actually think you might have wave shined the right way. You picked the right direction.
It looked like I did, right?
Yeah, I think you did. So, all things considered, then I don't feel like you got messed up by anything. It was just decision. So, maybe.
Do you think this would be a situation where if I had instant double jumped, I would have been able to combo this?
Ah, okay.
I'm not actually sure, but it's like I know that you can full hop fast fall, and it's very close to reaching the ground at the same time as doing an instant double jump.
But it's not quite. Yeah.
But it's not quite as fast. Yeah.
And then there's some other considerations like you maybe could have maybe just got a forward air.
I thought about the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then honestly, something I think is underrated is like if you really don't think you even have that good a combo, just like play a mix up where you read his jump or don't jump, and that's honestly pretty high reward. And I think people of other characters do it a lot more than Falco, because Falco's always like, I got a combo here. But, dude, like, what if you just ran under him and short hop up aired him at 22?
Yeah.
Like, you'd just probably destroy him afterwards. Or, like, go do a timing of a laser where you, like, laser him as he's falling, but then if he jumps, dash and full hop up air him or something. And I think that's actually not bad, but nobody ever really does it much.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that with Falco, when I am like, shit, I don't think I have this combo, I actually just default. So I think you should try that in spots where you don't think you've really got the combo. Because I think probably even in the moment you were like, this probably is not going to work great.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I have no doubt that when you did that, you kind of knew that it wasn't going to work out the way you maybe wanted it to. I also want to point out that many good players would have shield grabbed you after the first shine when you wave shined. Just because it's a common thing. It's like, okay, like I got my shield up next to Falco, I'm going to shield grab. Because it beats a lot of random things Falcos do. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I think that was actually pretty important. Because, like, if you were playing Mewtwo King or something, he might just shield grab you there. I mean, not that Mewtwo King plays anymore, but...
yeah, right.
Yeah. That's the classic. Then you get forward throw down tilted, and it's like, well... Then the next thing I wanted to ask you is, what do you think of your laser timing when he was falling? Because
I thought it was bad.
The laser missed, but you did get to just like, jump over there and nair him anyway. Which isn't bad at all. So it makes me think either A, you should have done a later laser to hit him out of the air, or B, is Falco faster at moving when he does that, or is it faster to just run over there?
It's faster to do the short hop.
Okay. So then, functionally speaking, it was like, oh, let me get over there and then nair you. So that was fine, but...
I just think that it could have shot a higher laser.
Yeah. There's kind of no reason not to, right?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, why didn't I just shoot a higher laser? I don't understand.
But I did think if you shot a higher laser, you might have actually had to delay going in slightly for it to have a chance to hit. Which is what I would have done if I was playing. Like, I would have just done a delayed high laser. And then I probably would have focused more on shooting him out of the air. But that would have actually been very different than what you did in terms of how it worked.
That's true.
And
I would have ended up at a spacing still where laser into nair would have comboed.
Yeah, laser nair, laser up tilt would have worked. But then you have the downside of like delaying it slightly and not already being under him means maybe he had room to do something else a little bit, maybe drift a little differently, double jump a little differently.
That's a good point.
So I want to point out that that's a situation where it's really easy to group all those options together because it kind of looks like, oh, I was kind of trying to shoot him, I'm kind of trying to nair him, but actually doing a delayed high laser approach is very different than focusing on getting under him here. And I think it would be very easy to mix those up while playing and not like really pay attention to the difference, Does that all make sense?
It does.
Cool. And then the last thing is, I thought the back air was obviously not what you wanted.
Yeah.
I actually think wave landing would have been pretty amazing.
What did I hit him with again? I hit him with the nair. Yeah, wave landing seemed like it would have been
because you would have shined a tech in place and forward smashed the tech roll easily. Nice. That was good. CC was good. Combo
I went to the top platform.
I mean, if you didn't DI, that would have worked, obviously.
True.
But I think it was fairly likely that he was going to DI because he's going to try to dash back anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a consideration that, like, I don't know how much you think about, like, what their next input's going to be, but dash back.
I think about that all the time.
Yeah, I figured. So, dash back was on the table. In fact, it was probably the only thing on the table for most marths, so. Something to think about there.
I just feel like I went to the top platform and this down air I did wasn't good for like anything really.
Yeah, just the timing of it kind of wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the general notion was there where you like waited a second and then tried to go in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's actually talk about something before it though. So if I shore hopped out of that shine and realized I often use Falco shore hop to check their DI. And I think if I were you, I would have done a slower double jump and then just lasered him out of the air. Like not landed on the top platform, but just fell a little bit in my short hop. And then I would have done double jump left and done 2 lasers. Mm-hmm. And then I could have, since I would have double jumped left, I could dash under him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something you've thought about, but that's something I thought of there.
I like that a lot. I don't really think about that very much. I
think it's pretty good there to like use the short hop to react, and then you can kind of fix the combo however you need to, change it into a juggle. Mm-hmm. But the top platform idea is actually really good too. Now that I look at it, and I kind of just think, what do you think you were thinking there? I can't quite figure it out.
I weirdly enough can't figure it out either. I usually know what I'm thinking. Yeah. So I shine him at 0. Can we actually? Here's the interesting thing. Did I short hop this? I did. Oh, yes. That makes it even worse because I'm like, what if I just missed a wave shine? But I didn't.
Yeah, I don't think you meant to. So that's why I'm like, huh? Because I think the top platform thing was like I said, it was a good idea if you were thinking about whether or not he'd double jump. It just doesn't look like that was something you were actively thinking about very hard.
Right. So do you think the down air is the problem then? Like, I could have lasered in this spot once I reached the top platform instead.
Yeah, I'm wondering if, like, laser, even just dash dance, and then... Because if Marth's stuck in the air with no jump and you just keep dash dancing, you can definitely fall on him at the right timing.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right, because, like, even if he up airs, the landing on the platform will stop the up air from being there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, you could literally just sit there and then down air at the last second and hit him. Or you could sit there and then short hop off laser, short hop off forward air or something and guaranteed hit him, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a lot going for you there. I actually would have never gone to the top platform there, but now that I look at it, I'm like, oh, this actually could create many good things. It's just, it only is good because Jake and Shaken double jumped instead of untumbling.
Yeah.
Which is why I think my laser idea kind of covers both. But most people do double jump there, so it's like...
The thing is, I untumble. I guess that's a cool way to phrase it. I always untumble instead of double jump in spots where I'm like still on stage. So I find it really weird that people don't do it. Like,
yeah, it's just not really part of the metagame yet. It's only certain players, like Plup always does it, or you always do it, but it's not super standard yet. But yeah, this is an interesting situation regardless, and I think it's good to talk about just because it kind of relates to everything we talked about in the other matchups about how you maintain advantages, and like stuff like this is useful for Sheik for sure. I've always thought Marth and Sheik were very similar in terms of how you treat them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Cool. So let's keep going though. So you get this down air from top platform. I don't remember what happens next.
I end up trying to shield drop shine, it looks like, and I get shield drop up aired.
Yeah, which isn't totally unreasonable. The spacing was just kind of wonky. If I were you, I might have just been like, this is an awkward situation. I'm just going to crouch cancel no matter what happens. Like, I would have just landed and held down because I would have been like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
and that kind of covers every option.
I don't think about crouching, like landing and then crouching on the platforms very much.
Well, maybe that's something to consider. Because I like it only because I feel like there were so many variables there that were hard to account for. Because, he might have down aired or something.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't like the AC Bear.
Me neither.
Right? So let's talk about exactly why, just so it's ingrained. So, like, why is that bear not good?
Well, I can't imagine many things that it would have beaten.
Okay, so it just doesn't really beat anything.
Uh-huh.
Any other thoughts, or is that just, like, the main thought?
I mean, it's a commitment of frames, and I'm, like, required to be in the air for a certain amount of time, and if he chooses to run at me with anything, his disjoints moving forward are probably going to beat out my nair or my back air regardless.
So then there's one more thing I'm thinking that I'm not sure if this is on your mind or not, but
okay.
One thing I'm thinking is you moved away before you back aired, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me a lot of, and I talked to Kalindi about this, there's a spot where like a fox will be in center stage versus a sheik or a marth, and they'll do dash back, short hop away, turn around laser. And the sheik or marth will dash attack, but because the fox short hopped away and was lasering, he doesn't get to punish the dash attack. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So what I'm thinking is the biggest reason to me this is bad is because if you're going to move away there and the moving away puts you out of range, there's no reason to commit to anything.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So just as a big, like a very general notion, not even this specific situation, if you're moving away at the edge of your opponent's range, you don't want to commit to actions because moving away there is already guaranteed to dodge everything.
Mm-hmm. And since he went for such a large commitment like a dash attack, in this situation specifically, I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But he went for a dash attack here. If I didn't commit to something...
Exactly. So this is... that's exactly right. So it's like we take the general notion, we apply it here, and we see suddenly you would get the punish. So at the edge of someone's range, you either want to do something in that spot or move away. But you don't want to move away and do something.
Yeah.
So if you had AC Baird without moving, then I think all your earlier answers would have been exactly on point. I would have been like, well, yeah, that's why you don't AC Baird that spot, because, all these reasons. But I think the move away plus AC Baird is actually bad for a different reason, which is important to talk about. Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, that's really cool. Okay.
And I think that actually would help a lot of people fight Marth and Sheik, because they often let, especially Marth players, commit at ranges where they shouldn't get to. Because if you just didn't do anything, you would have easily punished that.
Definitely, yeah.
So
that was bad recognition for me. Why would I do a nair approach at this range? I know better than this.
Yeah, I want to go back even further, though. Let's talk about your pressure. So you got in pretty easily. No real trouble. Nair, shine, wave shine. So let's talk about this. How much do you think about whether or not they'll get their shield up before your first shine?
Before my first shine.
So you did nair shine and you got his shield up and you wave shined.
Right. I don't think about it that much, to be honest.
I don't either, but I think it's important.
Okay.
Now that I watched this, I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. So if you were 100% sure that was going to hit, you'd obviously wave shine.
Yeah.
But watching it, I think it was somewhat clear that it wasn't a guaranteed shine. So I think that if you were more ready, you could do a host of things. You could shine turnaround grab. You could have not shined and just turnaround grabbed in the first place. You could have done shine, short hop, turnaround, laser. You could have done, all the options. Delay area, whatever.
Yeah.
Like you have a billion options.
Right.
Actually, if you turn around into shine, which I've never seen someone do, does it only take one frame? It only does, right? Like you could turn into shine, right?
Yep.
So I've never seen someone do it, but what if you did nair and then turn around shine grab?
That would have been really fast.
Literally never seen someone do that in my entire life playing this game. But
me neither.
I think that's probably really fucking good there, right? Saves frames also compared to shine turnaround grab. Although you also have to consider the back of your shine being bigger. I mean, there's a lot of variables that I know, but
yeah.
I think that it was clear to me that people, including you and myself, don't think about this much here. But I feel like I knew this nair wasn't going to combo, and I often do go into pressure sequences, but I don't feel like I go into the best pressure sequences. And that's kind of how I felt about what you did here. It's like you did the thing where it's like you kind of knew it probably wasn't going to hit, so you kind of did some pressure, but it's like, how good was that pressure really if you really knew he was just going to shield?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, on the one hand, you have grab, right? On the other hand, though, I think Shine Turnaround Laser's amazing because do you know about the thing where if you laser close enough, it actually pulls them closer to you because the laser hits on the back of their shield?
Yep.
Yeah, so that would have been potentially a really good spot to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? So it's like,
also,
go ahead.
Also, I'm on the backside of Marth's shield, so like the likelihood that he's going to be able to hit me before my laser actually comes out is
it's like
low.
Only Marths that would do bear out of shield would essentially hit you there. And that's actually not a terrible option for Marth because he just needs to choose it sometimes, but nobody chooses it.
Do you know who James Young is?
James Young.
Vaccine.
I know
Michigan.
Vaccine.
Yeah, he's like the legendary dude. He back airs out of shield all the time. It hits me so frequently.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good with Marth. That's kind of cool.
Why don't people do this?
Because it's just really slow, so it's unintuitive, probably. Yeah. But it's
definitely
good. That's cool that he does that. I also think, again, so what's really on the table here, though, in my mind, is there's two types of Marth players here for the most part. They'll either hold shield because they're sitting there waiting, or they'll understand that you're probably not going to combo them, and they're immediately going to wave dash out of shield, right? So I think if you do your wave shine perfectly, you should be able to catch his wave dash out of shield. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. But, what beats both hold shield and wave dash is just turn around laser.
Yeah, definitely.
So, there's a couple things going on there. And it's just worth thinking about for sure. And I feel like
it's super cool to think about that.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to play this that I can't even begin to name them all without wasting all my time. But and I feel like, if this was Mango, there's a 100% chance he would have shine turnaround lasered.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that he would have done that. And then also, the Nair, like you said, was probably not the best. You could have approaching laser. That's the easy answer. But also to me, it's just switching between understanding that you have pressure and just holding the position. I think is really useful in this matchup. It's not how Mango plays it, but I think it's I've played it this way before, where I switch between pressuring him really hard, like you just were, and then as soon as they get out, I just play the neutral game sequence out. Where after that first laser, I would have just shot one or two more lasers in place. And pretty much every Marth just gets destroyed at that point because, their brain can't process switching between I'm getting pressured to the Falco is shooting really fast to I'm getting pressured,
Yeah.
Most Marths can't even beat me just shooting really fast, and most Marths can't even beat me pressuring. So, when I'm ready enough to switch between them quickly and cleanly, it's just, super free.
Yeah. When we were watching this back, I was thinking after that laser, instead of doing an approaching laser, I was like, man, I should have just done lasers in place right there.
Yeah, if you just did one laser in place and then did whatever you want, it probably would have been over for him. So.
What am I doing?
There's a couple things.
Yeah.
So, kind of messed up a little bit. / didn't time things exactly how you wanted to. I'm interested in the spot dodge interaction. I was surprised you did spot dodge to dash back. That caught me.
I feel like that's kind of just my panic thing that I do.
Because I feel like if you're gonna dash back there, you might as well just short hop towards him afterwards. Either backflip or something. Because it's what is even if you didn't see that he grabbed, which you might not have, what would you even? What would he even do after that, right?
That's a good point.
I don't really know, but if he's gonna do anything, it might be YOLO dash attack.
Yeah, right.
Right. If he's gonna do anything, he's gonna either sit there confused, just it was a pretty confusing situation, or he's gonna probably throw out a big move. So I feel like dashing back into laser probably wasn't the play there.
So what do you think should have happened here? What do you think that I should have done?
What should have probably happened is you reacted to his grab whiff and just punished it.
Okay.
Because grab is always reactable if you're playing close attention, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it is difficult. I don't think it's free, but it's definitely guaranteed. So just during your spot dodge and dash back, by the time you input back, I think the grab was visible. But since you were in panic mode, it just like wasn't on the mind.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But that's why I was saying, even if you weren't reacting, I just feel like in general, you might as well just like backflip towards him at that point or something. Also, I want to talk about the respawn thing, because I get in this trap of doing exactly what you did there, where you're like, okay, I'm just really not going to let him out, and I'm going to keep him in the corner, and if they run through me, which many marths do, you down him. But I feel like so many times, and this is more with Fox than with Falco, but I used to do the same thing with Fox, where I just sit there and be like, you can't go through the center, and I feel like, all these marths do is run through me, and then somehow it just never hit. And I don't know if you have that experience at all, but that's how I used to feel in tournament when I would play.
I do, yeah.
So what I did is I paid really close attention to my VODs, and I tried to figure out when they actually did it, as opposed to just assuming that they would do it. And this actually won me the set I beat Moon at SoCal Coliseum, where I realized there was a certain spot where they actually just all corner camp instead. They do one of the two. They either sit in the corner, they run through you, right? And I forgot what it was for Fox, but I figured out exactly when they did it. And on like 3 respawns in a row, I correctly ran all the way into the corner and just up smashed and then 0 to death them off of it.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like, I remember figuring out that like this was a weakness of mine in the Marth matchup that I always assumed he'd go through. So I would recommend putting some, minor amount of thought into respawn, because because you probably know yourself, if this is something you do a lot and it doesn't work as often as you think it should, I feel like that's something you should maybe just put a little thought into. It's also the thing where, like, you don't want to give up center, but, like, you can't also just sit in center every time either. And I think I found better success just committing to one or the other than I have, like, kind of trying to do both or trying to, like... it's funny, if I commit to running in, it also always goes better than committing to holding center for, like, throwing out moves. But if you commit to holding center without throwing out moves, I actually think it works out well too, because you have time to see him sitting in the corner and then do something about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but then when you're spamming 2 or 3 down airs, you don't actually get to do anything about him sitting in the corner. Because I feel like the true value of center is that you get to play reactively from a good position, but by holding center with attacks, you're actually giving that up. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
So it's a little unintuitive, but I think hard reading that option repeatedly is actually not that good. So this is the part where you said, what am I even doing?
Yeah.
So what are you doing?
It was interesting that I did this nair. Because I think, like, I got the position, and I held him in the corner, he rolled into me, and I reacted, and I was like, okay, I'll do this pivot nair. Yeah, which is something I do with Fox a lot, which is interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, so, like, what do you prefer you would have done?
I mean, I could have, like, dash backed, and I could have, well, like I did. I could have shined, or I could have back aired him. I could have turned around and grabbed him. I could have also just done a down air, like a down air backwards, and then drift into him, which wouldn't have been bad either. Probably really good, actually.
Yeah, down air would be amazing. He's at 36. I don't remember the percent for Marth. Is it 36, 37? I think it's 30. It's either 36 or 37, I think. But, downer might not knock over.
I could have also wave dashed down in place.
Yeah, I was about to say, what I was thinking was, since you were already dashing back, dash back a little further and then wave dash towards him, Shine. But yeah, if you had already dashed back forward, then yeah, wave dash in place instead. Get the shine. You can also always jump shine waveland down out of any dash sequence, right?
Right, yeah.
And that's actually pretty good if you do the fast one, because you get down so fast that you can follow any DI probably.
I do that a lot, not in this matchup, but I actually do it a lot against Fox when I'm dash dancing.
Yeah, that makes sense. If he rolls into me, you do it versus Fox. But I think, just being flexible, there's a lot of things that were better than there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I actually think we should, instead of just also naming all of them, being specific about the best ones is important. Because I think that's something that happens is, like, if we come up with a lot of all these options are decent, your brain ends up thinking about all of them, and then you'll never get good at consistently choosing the right one.
Yeah. It's a
and
good
I
point.
think that's a trap as you start understanding the game better. You're like, oh, this is optimal, but these are all pretty decent. Like, when should I try to optimize? When should I not? But when it's something simple, like I know he's going to roll, like there's no reason not to just do the best thing every time.
Yeah, definitely. I think about that a lot too. This is just like a quick thing.
Yeah.
I figure when I have a punish that I can like reactively choose the best option, like a situation like this, I tell people to treat it like a rest punish, because why wouldn't you just like try to maximize
that's a good way to
your
put
punish?
it. That's a good way to put it. I like that. So yeah, if you got your rest punish here, like I feel like up
I'm not
tilt,
just gonna
down air,
pivot there.
shine.
Yeah. I think down air shine or like down air up tilt right here would probably be really good.
I agree. So yeah, just make sure you're thinking about it the right way and training your brain properly as much as you can, because it's definitely hard when there's so many things to keep in mind, and like you just have to hold yourself to that standard as much as possible, I think. So you end up getting this nair, you end up eventually shining him to the top platform, you downer him, and then do you remember what happened?
I landed on the top platform with him, and I tried to shine, which missed his tech roll to the right, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, something like that. And you actually dropped through shine, maybe not on purpose.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
Yeah, so, I mean, especially when you're already on that side, I feel like up tilt just covers both of the options.
Yeah, I was hoping when we were watching it back that I was going to do an up tilt, and I just didn't.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe just more platform tech chase practice.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't doubt that it'll happen eventually. It's just you're working on many things. So. But also when you double jumped afterwards, I actually thought you could have hit him because he rolled. But that just didn't look like it was on the brain at the moment.
Yeah, definitely not. I feel like I double jumped and I was like, shit, I didn't mean to fall through with that shine. This is an awkward situation.
Yeah. And something, I forget if I said this to you or to Kalindi, but something I feel like you, him, and Duck all do is like if the opponent does something that is just absolutely not a good option in any way, but also doesn't make sense, the odds of you reacting to it are much lower.
Yeah.
Like if they do a bad option that makes sense, you guys are all like amazing at reacting to it. But if it's a bad option that doesn't make sense, you guys almost all play as if it just like didn't happen. Like it's just as if it literally wasn't on the table at all.
Yeah. Oh god, you're so right.
And it stands out to me a lot with the three of you, because now that I've watched VODs of all three of you so many times, I'm like, oh, it's so consistent. That like there's just this one spot where there's no reaction, even if you're reacting the entire rest of the game.
Yeah. Oh.
So something to think about, because if I was playing and I just messed up and I double jumped and he rolled, I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just hit you, And Mango's super good at this, right? He just takes everything they give him, And I think that's pretty easy to train if you just play some people that are a lot worse than you, and all you do is just make sure you execute and just look for what they give you, and otherwise autopilot.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that too, because for some reason it tilts me. Like when I'm playing against people who are worse, like on Netplay or whatever, and like I'm just talking to my stream, so it's like I'm just bullshitting. But like someone will do something that does not make any sense and I'm like, why would you ever do that? Like,
yeah.
It makes no sense to me. But did I punish them for it? No.
No, Duck was always really similar.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a really good point.
Yeah, it's like when he would lose, anytime Duck got upset, there would be like 1/4 of the time he got hit or missed something, it'd be something that made no sense, but then he would proceed to play badly afterwards. Because he was either confused or tilted or, annoyed or some combination of things, right? And I was just always like, just hit them, It'll also improve your mental state because you're just hitting them.
Yeah.
As opposed to being annoyed that, they're doing the thing. And that stands out to me a lot because I felt like, regardless of all these mistakes and everything, you probably should have had it.
For sure.
And then even the runoff bear, I felt like I would have done runoff shine probably. Which was understandable that you did bear because you're like, oh, I'll push him off. But then he double rolled. And
he double rolled. Yeah.
But funnily enough, I wasn't thinking about double roll. I was just thinking, well, if I push him off, shine is really good anyway. And if I somehow don't push him off, shine will let me pressure him.
Yeah.
So I was definitely not thinking he would, roll again. But I was just thinking shine. And then to me, it's no coincidence that it like would have worked out better.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's another super common thing I noticed is that, like, as people get better and better at the game, the options they choose just work more often, even when there's no intention. Like, they didn't understand why it was going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you compare your play to, someone much worse than you, I'm sure you'd notice the same thing. You'd be like, well, I wasn't really thinking about beating that option that he did there, but I still would have beaten it,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's how I felt there. It was like, you had him, but, like, only kind of.
Definitely.
So we talked through that whole sequence. Let's see what happens next. So get this downer. So what do you expect to happen after that downer?
I thought I reacted decently. I got hit out of the air, and I was like, okay.
No. After you downered him. Sorry.
After I downered him.
Yes, I agree that your downer was great. I wonder what you expected after you downered him.
It's really weird, right? Oh, I don't even press the B button. Sorry.
Yeah, so it looked like you were just like, hey, let me tech chase.
Yeah.
But, like, you were waiting to react to tech in place maybe with Shine if you saw it, but then you didn't think about anything if you didn't.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe I was waiting for regular get up or get up attack.
Oh, that's possible too.
That's my assumption.
So in my opinion, you just need to cut out the fat and just hit him because, he's downering. He's probably going to miss the tech on your downer, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of those situations where, in my mind, almost every Marth pair in the world either gets popped up or misses the tech there.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very surprised to see, like, him tech roll or something.
Mm-hmm.
Does that seem reasonable?
It does, yeah.
So, like, I would have just up tilted or shined, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the bonus part that if you do shine preemptively and then you see a tech roll, you can always, like, act out of it and do something else.
Yeah, wave shine towards or just, like, laser out of my shine.
Yeah, exactly. Those are both the things I was thinking. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear what to do there.
Yeah, that's why I was so surprised I didn't press. I was looking at my input this way, like, did I press B too early?
It was clear that you were waiting to react to something,
Yeah.
So messed up your tech skill on the turnaround laser here, which is unfortunate, but it was a cool sequence.
I got him to throw himself off the stage for some reason.
I think, by the way, you tried to high laser there, but I assume you didn't want to not fast fall that laser, or maybe you did want to not fast fall. I can't tell. You know what I mean? Like, did you want to do high laser, no fast fall? Because I feel like there's no reason to do that unless you're delaying it, but you didn't. So
I didn't delay it. Yeah.
It's like you either want to do early laser like you did plus the fast fall, because there's literally no downside, right?
Right.
But then I looked at your inputs, and I don't think I saw like a little bit of a down, but not much. So I can't tell.
Not really.
Yeah. So I don't know, something to think about, because I think of all the lasers you've shot this game. So there's the drop through laser at the beginning. There was a laser you had a weird fastfall timing on. There's this one you had a weird fastfall timing on. There's one that didn't come out when you did the turnaround laser. So like, I don't know if it's just this set, but I feel like you have so many, you know all the laser variations, and you're having trouble switching between all of them at will.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't think that's easy by any means. So,
well, the sad thing is I practice all the different lasers all the time, and that's one of the reasons I really hate playing Falco on net play, is because I feel like I can't be as precise with my lasers as I want to be. And like, I feel like watching the setback, I can't even tell you why I did certain lasers. It feels so bad.
Yeah. Well, do you feel like when you practice them, you hit them very consistently?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's think. Well, I think, funnily enough, I personally think the hard part of it is actually not the execution, partially because I've just played for so many years. I think the hard part is having your brain in the right place to execute it, because you're thinking about many things at once.
Yeah, you have to make the right decision given all
it's
the factors.
Like you were thinking about, because if you're thinking about one option, let's say you're playing and you're thinking about 3 different options, even if one of those isn't a laser option, it might involve a particular drift or fast fall. And I feel like if your brain is priming itself to choose between all of those, it's very easy for everything to get like muddled between like, oh, well, am I going to fast fall late aerial, or am I short hop drifting back and doing this? Am I wave landing, or am I doing no fast fall laser? And then suddenly your hands like can't do all of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I actually think this is a situation where you need to not just practice the execution.
Okay.
You either need to set up situations where you're giving your brain multiple options and then still executing, which is kind of annoying to find and set those up. But if you can think of them, then I mean, more power to you. I've always been lazy in that respect because I always feel like I can figure it out in game. But I'm also pretty good at figuring it out in game, so it kind of works out. So if you feel like you can play some friendlies and specifically pay very close attention to it, once you prime yourself to choose something and you choose it to make sure you execute that laser timing perfectly, then I think you can just grind it out in some friendlies. But if you feel like that's too difficult or inefficient, then I think you should find some ways to set up save states and practice it.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that for sure.
Whichever one feels more convenient and comfortable for you. But I think that's important because I think that as I was playing Falco and in my most technical times and the times I had the most layers in my decision making, like there's that one VOD of me playing Kalindi where I came over for the Shogunate lessons. And I think that VOD, I have the most layered decision making of my Falco footage I've ever seen, and I'm trying to do insanely technical things, and you just see me completely fuck it up sometimes because I'm just trying to do 80 things at once. It's just like it's just really hard. And I think that's actually something that makes it, again, easier for Mango, is that he, even though he's thinking about a lot, I think he's much more kind of to the point when he makes his decision.
Yeah.
It's like, even though he's doing a hard laser, right, he's kind of already decided, you know, like, he doesn't really, like, look into, like, 3 layers ahead of time. He's playing, like, 1 layer ahead of time at any given time, and he knows exactly what it is, and then he goes for it. And I think that that's probably a thing with you because I know you're thinking about a lot in each situation. So I think that's going to fuck up your execution, even more.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Cool. Does that feel like relatable to how you feel when you
It does for sure.
So I know this feeling all too well. And I feel like the first thing that goes out the window is my laser timings and also, funnily enough, my double shine timings. Because double shining is something where, like, I feel like it's actually pretty slow. If that makes sense. Like, the input is not very hard.
Yeah.
So, like, what happens is when I'm thinking about too many things, I always end up going way too fast when I'm doing it, unless I stop and tell myself, okay, now is the double shine timing, And that's how I feel when I do lasers, too. Obviously, eventually, that I don't have that problem when I'm practicing a lot. But the more that's on my brain, the more I feel like I lose a sense of time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll definitely practice that.
Cool. So let's keep watching this. So like you said, he somehow threw himself off the stage.
Yeah.
Which is great. You messed up after back air.
Yeah. What do you think of going to the side platform in this situation and pressuring with back air?
I liked it.
Okay. I thought so too. I mean, I just Mango does it, and he's been.
Yeah, I was about to say Mango spams it, and he's good at it. Seems to work well.
Right.
I want to point out though that I don't even think Shining was that great after that back air.
Definitely not.
And B, you also messed it up. And it always concerns me when people mess this up, and I never write it off because back air is your laggiest aerial that you use consistently. So it's no surprise to me when people miss Shine afterwards. Because back air is 10 frames of lag, if I remember correctly.
On the top of my head, I had 11, but...
Oh, 11? That would be even laggier.
I could be super wrong, actually, but...
Either way, that's much laggier than your...
Yeah.
Let me look it up real quick.
Oh, it's 10. You're right.
Okay, it's 10. Yeah, so, Nair's 7, Downer's 9, I think. So...
Yep.
You're working with an aerial that's literally laggier than even Downer, which is your laggy aerial.
Oh. Forward air is 11, that's why.
Yeah, forward air is 11, but you don't really use that for the most part.
Part.
Especially not into Shine. So, yeah, it's never, ever, ever a surprise to me when someone misses Bear to Shine, especially delayed. So I just want to point that out and just keep it in mind that, like, it could have just been a one-off thing. But, again, also, you're thinking about a lot of things. It's a tournament set. You really don't want to get grabbed at the edge. You're used to, all these other aerials, like...
Yeah. One interesting thing, quickly. It's
Yeah.
like I figured this out, and I think it's super cool.
Yeah,
So nair is 7 frames, and then down air is 9 frames.
Yeah.
So like when I do down air to shine, I'm almost always frame perfect.
Yes.
And when I do nair to shine, I'm 2 frames slow because I just do it at the same timing as the down air.
So you maybe you also shine 1 frame early on back air then.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking that I probably shine like 1 frame early here because I always press like. I think the motion of pressing like my L cancel on my fast fall and then doing the shine, I think is just built into like 9 frames.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I actually think you should fix that and shine earlier after nair, because one of the biggest benefits of nair is that you do get to shine earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been making a point to practice that hardcore.
That's really good. Yeah, and being able to switch between those at will and not be frame perfect but be within 1 frame, I think is pretty useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can do nair shine after nair on frame 8 or 9, and then shine after down air on 10 or 11, and then shine after bear on 11 or 12, I think that would be pretty good. That's a good point though, and I think that very much relates to what we just talked about with the back air. So it all lines up, which is nice. So you get this back air. So how did this happen? Because this is the classic. Falco has someone in the corner, and then it doesn't work.
It all goes wrong, yeah.
So you got clipped by fair and tried to jab. So you got clipped by fair because you messed up. So it's worth noting that this all only maybe happened because you messed up, right?
Right.
And then let's talk about the option afterwards. So since it was a rising fair and you're only at 17%, I actually don't really think you needed to jab. If he had a little bit more of an advantage and he was going to like dash up grab you, then I think jab makes sense.
Yeah.
But it wasn't he didn't have enough advantage where dash up grab was like a problem, if that makes sense. So what do you think is good there, having watched it a few times?
I think crouch canceling or putting up my shield could be decent.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't really know.
Okay. So I have one extra layer to that, which is I think shielding is decent, but you should dash away first and then shield. Because if you dash away, it beats grab, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you're thinking, okay, I can crouch or shield because he's not going to grab, but like he could grab, right? So you dash away to beat grab, but then you do a delayed shield in case he dash attacks.
That's really smart.
So there's a lot of kind of option timings where you're considering multiple options and like just doing the inputs preemptively regardless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because dash attack and grab don't hit on the same frame, and they don't hit in the same place. So I think dash away, grab, and then if you see him jump, the cool part is if you see him jump and want to read him doing delayed aerial, you can bear out a shield. But if you see him jump and assuming he's just going to rising aerial, you can hold shield, and then if he doesn't space it, you get shine out of shield. If he does space it, he doesn't really get pressure on you.
Yeah. Oh, man, that sounds so good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. And then if you're brave enough to just assume he will neither, like you're not worried about both grab and dash attack and you want to make a read, that's actually still a pretty strong situation for you. Because like you said, you could just crouch or shield right in front of him. You could even dash back and just throw out the back air early and trade with his nair, and that's great for you too. So, I mean, you have a lot of pretty good options on the table. And also, something I think K-Pan would do, which I literally never do, but maybe sometimes it's the right option, is if there's a scramble and you really don't want to get hit, just instant double jump away. And I never do it, but if we're thinking about all the things Marth is likely to do, instant double jump counters jump, dash attack, grab, dash, right? It just beats everything.
Yeah, true.
He does it way too much because he does it in like almost every scramble he's in. But one of the advantages is it does beat all the things that people typically try to like cheese Falco with in the corner.
Yeah.
And then since you instant double jumped, you come down and you get to pressure. So I actually think that's another thing to think about. Is sometimes you can just remove yourself from that entire layer of gameplay instead of playing any sort of mix-up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people are unwilling to want to participate in those sorts of mix-ups because it could go very badly for them really quickly.
Yeah, exactly. That makes total sense. So he ends up nairing, and I don't know what happens next. You get hit, you roll in. I think you probably should have rolled out.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
This works out though. I like the cross up on the down air.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah. So I mean, all things considered, though, I would say this is still going pretty well, even though there's like a lot of things going wrong.
Right. It feels bad to me because the things that are going wrong are so preventable if my brain was a little bit more focused, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And part of that might just be, how you're feeling that day. Your controller wasn't working how you wanted, in that set in the moment. But also, I'm hoping that if you practice kind of all the things we talked about, it will help you do some of these things with a little less focus.
Yes, definitely.
That's what I'm hoping, that you will not need the same level of focus to execute the things that you weren't able to. Let's go back a little bit. I think you did wave dash back into him as if you could have crouch canceled or were at 0, but you weren't.
Yeah, I have no idea why.
That was just like, I think you needed to remember your percent. I like that a lot. I think that whole sequence was pretty good. And then I was surprised you did the last bear out of shield though instead of just shining. Just because like if someone lands near me in a kind of scramble-ish situation, I feel like shine's probably better than back air.
This is gonna sound really weird, maybe. So when I do shine out of shield, it almost always has to be like a preemptive, not necessarily a preemptive decision, but the way I position my thumb is different than when I do anything else.
Okay.
I press with the tip of my thumb.
Yes.
And so when I have to do it really quickly, like, oh shit, that guy's just randomly happens to be on top of me, like this marth is like shielding right now.
Yeah, then you can't do it.
Yeah, I usually don't just like, I'll just switch my thumb position.
Do you with Y?
I use X.
Okay, you use X. And then you just slide to B?
I slide to B, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, maybe that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Because that's actually a really good point. And I think lots of people have problems like that with inputs where like, like when I play Jared, I can always know when he's going to up smash because he physically changes his posture to do the claw.
Yeah, I play against a bunch of people that do the same thing.
Yeah,
I just run up shield and then they up smash me, I wave dash out. They're like, dude, how are you ready for every single one? I'm like, you literally move your hand in front of me. Like, I can see.
Yeah, and it's like impossible not to notice.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I just notice it, so it's just like, oh, okay. But yeah, anyway. So that's like, but I actually think the shine thing is similar where anytime you have to prime yourself, that sucks. So I don't know, maybe you should find... Is there any way you can do it differently, or?
Yeah, I'll think about that some more because maybe I could try to practice it with like the pad of my thumb.
Yeah, practice it with a different part of your thumb, and like again, I actually think it's a kind of slow input at the end of the day. So I think there's actually a lot of room for just being fast enough for it to not matter. I think with Fox, you can't really be fast enough for it to not matter if you were using X. If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah, with X. You could do it with Y or something. But with Falco with X, I think you could probably swing it. I always use tap jump there, so I don't really have that problem. But
really?
Yeah, I do tap jump for all my Falco shine inputs.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like including double shine and stuff. And that kind of makes it really easy for me to play scrambles, so...
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'll think about that a little bit.
Think about it. I don't know what'll be easiest for you. I mean, obviously mess around with it, but I think it would go a really long way for you because, like, it makes sense to me having watched you because I didn't know that before, but having watched you so many times and played you, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes sense that there are certain situations you might struggle a little more with, even though like you can think about them properly. I think AC Bear after he down airs your shield is probably bad.
It was super. I was thinking, like, if I was reacting properly, which, like, I'm just watching this in real time, and I'm thinking, okay, wave dash out of shield shine on his landing. And then I don't do it. I'm like, what are you doing? Why do the back air?
I also think laser's pretty decent there.
Yeah.
I don't see people do it, but if Marth down airs your shield and you laser, that's actually quite good, I think.
Write that down.
I always wave that shine, also, for what it's worth. So I'm with you on that. But sometimes, like, I'm watching this and I'm like, oh, I realize things that I don't ever do, but... Oh, you got a big combo.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of down aired weird, though.
Yeah.
I don't really like the way you did this down air. But I don't know if you meant to do it like that or not. It's really hard.
I doubt that I did.
Yeah, just your timings were definitely off.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I think you should have hit him for that air dodge. But you were probably pre-priming for shield drop.
Yeah, I need to stop. It's like such the 2019 meme that everybody just shield drops as soon as they touch a platform.
Yeah.
And like here I am just doing it. I feel
it's
like
hard not to once we have access to all this. But yeah, like I would have just reacted to the air dodge, and I'm like, well, you couldn't because you were already shield dropping.
Yeah. Oh.
And then two things happened here. One, I was really surprised you didn't react to his up B. But it looked like your brain just like froze for a second.
It does. I like wave dashed out in place. I don't know.
Yeah. I think your brain just froze. It happens.
Or like run up crouch or something.
Yeah. And then I think the grab was it was a decent idea, but there was a couple things missing here. So like one, I think he got hit by the laser because he wave dashed out of shield in place, which is not very common there. But I think you probably didn't notice it in time.
I definitely did not.
Yeah, that's a pretty uncommon option. I don't know if I've seen anyone do that in a tournament match before. But since he got hit instead of shielding. Say what?
Do you think that's a good thing for him to do?
It was average. I mean, it was good versus certain things and lost very hard to other things, but...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it did not seem like a stroke of genius to me, if that makes sense, but it also wasn't like, oh, I would never do this ever.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, it was just okay. But, I mean, it threw you off because, he was able to dash back when otherwise he wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. Huh.
But again, that's one of those things that I think is a good chance to illustrate reaction points because even if I'd never seen it before, I feel like I could have seen that he let go of his shield and been like, I'm going to just do something different now. Even if, it wasn't something I'd practiced a ton.
That makes sense.
So hopefully, the more you notice it in VODs and in playing, the easier it'll be for you to, improvise when you haven't seen these things. But okay. I feel like we talked about quite a number of things.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Yeah. I think the way you were fighting Marth seemed fine, though. So.
I'm glad you thought so.
Yeah.
I think I went in with, a general idea of, what to do, and, I'm going to use lasers in this spot, and, approach him in the corner in certain ways, and try to grab him when I can. So I feel like in general, my game plan was kind of there, but I felt like my execution and my reactions were just kind of absent.
Which makes sense since you said your focus was lacking. I will say the only thing that was maybe Marth related that I thought could have gone a lot better was optimizing kind of these micro situations.
Because I think in the scrambles?
Yeah, either scrambles or even things like, oh, I nared him and ended up behind his shield. What do I do afterwards?
Yeah.
There's a lot of, not even scrambles, but just up-close fighting that often favors Falco significantly. And I think all the Marth players that are experienced versus Falco can be kind of slippery in these spots. And then most of the Falco players are a little too autopilot-y there because most people they play will just get dunked on, kind of regardless of what buttons you do, as long as you do buttons. But it's funny because I feel like when I play any of these Marths that are supposed to be pretty decent versus Falco, I feel like it's so easy to beat them in the scrambles because they only do 2 or 3 things and it's super telegraphed. Or not scrambles, but these micro up-close spots.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like I can always grab them when they're shielding, and I can always down air them when they're wave dashing, and I can always laser without getting hit.
Yeah.
Because it's just there's a flowchart they follow pretty strictly because it works versus 90% of Falco players. They have no real reason not to follow that flowchart.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I think if you push that part of your gameplay, and then kind of obviously implement everything else we talked about, but I don't think that was very Marth specific. Which is cool. I think that's good. This is the first time I think we've watched it. Been oh look, the way you're playing the matchup, seems to be pretty good overall. That wasn't really the problem. So I think that's pretty sick, and I know you put a lot of work into it. So
yeah, I am happy about that.
Yeah, and I think it showed in your gameplay, right? The things that were going wrong, I was never well, why would you do this versus Marth? But yeah, think about the up close stuff versus Marth because I think that's where. I actually think Falco shines there very much versus Marth. It's one of the strongest positions.
It's definitely something like even scrambles in or micro situations in a lot of matchups I haven't thought about too much. I generally, and that's why like my panic option is to dash away laser, is because I just think I don't want to be a part of this. I just want to have the control and like play my mix up. I don't want to have to like do any of this quick thinking stuff.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I feel like versus Fox, you're probably more down for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. I'm asking, but like that's what I would assume.
No, it is, but like I also feel like I handled those situations incorrectly as well. But okay. You're right.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, definitely something to think about. Like I said, I think Marth in particular is one where if you play it well, you'll just obliterate people in that part of the matchup. Because I have not really seen a Marth that... Because I actually think, well, one, it's really hard for Marth. But two, I think the only ways he can really make it hard are he has to intelligently roll, which most people can't do. They either roll really badly or don't roll at all. And then I also think he has to be very good at doing things like, oh, I'm willing to sit here and then power shield your laser as you get here and like not do anything. He has to like leave himself vulnerable a lot or like be really good at shield DI or stuff like that. Or like shield or SDIing lasers and stuff. And like I've never really played a Marth that I felt like holistically had like the technical aspects down, but also was smart enough to like use things like rolling and like holding shield intelligently. And then also SDI all your up throws. Otherwise, you just grab them every time. And then.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Between all of those things, it's a pretty tough test for Marth to pass, I think.
For sure, definitely.
Cool. Okay. Well, good stuff.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sammy. I had a good lesson. Good lesson.
Yeah, I think so too. I think all of them have been really good. So that's pretty hype.
And then Super Smash Con's happening this weekend, so that'll be good.
What's happening this weekend?
Super Smash Con.
Oh, nice. Do you know your bracket or anything like that?
I don't.
Okay. Well, I wish you luck. I hope you have a functional controller at SuperCon.
Thank you.
That's super important. But yeah, feel free to message me if you have any questions, but I'm sure you'll do well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sammy.
Yeah, no problem. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.